We begin with a fresh push for peace in the Middle East. We've got foreign ministers from nearly 30 countries that have gathered here in Paris to discuss a French-led initiative. Now, today's aim is to organize a comprehensive peace conference by the end of the year. But neither Israelis nor Palestinians are present at today's talks. Well, for more on this, let's cross to France 24's James Andre, who's covering events for us. James, what do you have for us this hour?
Well, basically, for the moment, what I can tell you is that the talks are ongoing. And indeed, the press conference by Jean-Marc Ayrault, the French Foreign Affairs Minister, was planned at 12:30 Paris time. But for the moment, they're still talking. And indeed, what we have had, though, is Federica Mogherini, the head of European diplomacy, that did address journalists earlier on to say that, well, she agrees with the diagnosis that the French authorities have put on the table. François Hollande this morning, who was saying that basically a void and a non-action would only result in more extremism in both camps, and that also something needed to be done quickly given the situation in the rest of the Middle East. In any case, Federica Mogherini said that Europe was determined to push a two-state solution, and also that the European Union had in its hands most of the economic incentives that can be put on the table in order to get both partners at a negotiating table in direct talks.
James Andre reporting from Paris. Thank you very much for that update. Well, for more on this ongoing story, I'm joined here in the studio by Marc Lefèvre, spokesperson for the Israeli movement Peace Now. Thank you for joining me here. Now, your group advocates for a politically negotiated two-state solution to this conflict. What do you make of what we're seeing now in terms of this French-led initiative?
Well, first of all, I think that it's very important that all the nations reaffirm that the two-state solution is the only solution. There is no other way. Both parties have to make concessions in order to maintain and to guarantee their future. So there is no other solution than the two-state solution. And the more this solution is postponed, the more facts are created in the ground to prevent this solution to be implemented, the more dangerous the situation becomes, not only for the local populations, but also for the surrounding countries, including Europe and Northern America.
Well, that's what we heard from the French president today. He was saying that this inaction and what we've seen pretty much in terms of apathy from some of the regional partners in all of this is leading to more extremism. So, but just if we know that France would like to then shake things up, get more momentum going, how can it do this?
Well, I think that if you look at the population in Palestine, this population is overwhelmed with despair and anger. On the other side, the Israeli population is governed by fear and anxiety about the future. So those feelings prevent any political solution because they prevent any political support to alternate politics. So those considerations have to be taken into account by all the parties who want to support the peace initiative. In order to overcome this fear and anger and this anxiety, incentives have to be created. So besides the statement of all those nations that they support a two-state solution, what the populations in the area are expecting are commitment, real commitments, how those countries will support the peace initiative, how they will accompany the peace initiative by facts on the ground to ascertain security on the Israeli side and confidence on the Palestinian side. So the announcement of real incentive is the key issue to trigger again a peace initiative.
Do you think that we could see some outlined initiatives coming through anytime soon?
I think yes. That's what the French document is stating, that the creation of incentive, of real announcement, of real measures to overcome the obstacles in the area is the key issue.
We have, of course, Israelis saying that these talks, it's only through a bilateral means that anything can be accomplished. Of course, Palestinians saying we need a multifaceted or multilateral framework. Just looking at the two sides, because we, of course, do know that perhaps towards the end of the year, the idea is to get both sides at the table. Where do things stand, though, in terms of negotiating? Is the Palestinian government strong enough and able to actually negotiate at the table? Also, what we've seen in terms of the Israeli government, in terms of a shakeup there recently. What ambience does this create for all of it?
Well, I think on the one hand, the Palestinian authorities is not strong enough. So they need international support and backup. They are not strong enough, not only in front of the Israelis, but in front of their population. They are not strong enough to have their population accepting the agreement and the terms of the agreement. And so there has been opportunities which have been missed with more moderate Israeli government, like the government run by Ehud Olmert with Tzipi Livni as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where no agreement has been reached because the Palestinian Authority was not able to have those concessions, those agreed by the population. So they need international backup. On the other hand, on the Israeli side, the actual prime minister has decided to tie his hands with the more extreme right-wing parties, which clearly announced that they do not want any concessions. They don't want to give. They don't want to give anything. They want to give up anything. So the ball is in the court of the Israeli government. He has the choice. He can actually, with the actual parliament, without going to another election, he has the choice to build another government with more moderate wings of the Israeli political scene, and he can create an alternative to the actual government.
Your organization, Peace Now, it
Yes.
works to create awareness within the local populations. What do you see, what has been your experience in terms of where public opinion in Israel stands for a two-state solution?
Well, I think the Israeli population looks for long-term security. And what we are trying to convince the Israeli people that long-term security is only represented by peace. I mean, a permanent status of war, one war after the other, does not create security. This was not the dream of Theodor Herzl. This was not the Zionist dream. The Zionist dream was to provide a homeland for the Jewish people to be safe and secure and build this future. This is not the case. Unless a real peace agreement with the necessary concession is achieved, there will be no security and no future.
All right, well, we do have to leave it there. Marc Lefèvre, thank you for coming in and sharing with us your perspective.
My pleasure.